Welcome to ChiroSphere, where we talk about all things chiropractic and some things, well, not so chiropractic. I'm Dr. Ray Foxworth, your host for ChiroSphere and CEO of ChiroHealth USA, the network that works for chiropractic. Thank you for joining us today as we delve into chiropractic leadership with my guest, Dr. Rachel Wendt, hailing from the suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. Dr. Wendt embarked on an academic journey that led her to earn a Bachelor of Arts in Exercise Science from Hope College and a Doctor of Chiropractic from the National University of Health Sciences. In 2021, Dr. Wendt assumed the role of Executive Director of the Kentucky Association of Chiropractors, where she leads strategic initiatives and advocates for advancing chiropractic care statewide. Before this, Dr. Wendt made impactful contributions during her tenure with the Colorado Chiropractic Association. Actively engaged in various state and national associations, she serves as a board member to the Congress of Chiropractic State Associations and is the current chair of the Leadership Committee for the Chiropractic Future Strategic Plan. Welcome, Rachel.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I understand this is like the 10th or 20th podcast you've ever been on.
Something like that. Maybe the first. I don't know.
Yeah, but maybe the first.
Maybe the first, definitely.
Yeah. So I usually start off our podcast with a question for you. Clearly, a lot of people know what you do. I'm interested in the why behind what you do. What got you interested in chiropractic leadership?
Well, as far as the leadership goes, I mean, that just came with time. But I mean, if we want to talk about the profession and why I got involved in the profession, my grandparents growing up had a lot of healthcare issues, uncontrolled diabetes, they were smokers back in the day and all of that. And it just seemed like everything that they did from the healthcare perspective wasn't working. And so I feel like there had to be another way. So fast forward to my senior year of high school, they had both passed. And I was in a car accident, so I started seeing a chiropractor, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds like the thing I've been looking for." And so I just kind of spent the rest of my time. Once I went to college, knew I was going to be a chiropractor. Researched, didn't know anything about it, other than I had just been my senior year of high school. Researched everything, and just my whole path led me down chiropractic. Graduated school, went straight into national, and just went on my journey. So I was not happy with the healthcare system and the way it was. And so into leadership, I mean, that just came with time. Like I said, nobody graduates chiropractic school being like, man, I can't wait to be an executive director of a state association, right? Now, nobody does that. And
Right.
So
run away.
Yeah. So I started, obviously I graduated from national, and then I thought I was going to be in Illinois forever, and then situations happened and I had a breakup. So I moved to Colorado. I just had some friends that moved out there. And at the time, Illinois was the only state that did not require Part 4. So when I thought I was staying in Illinois, I never took Part 4. Moved to Colorado, had to take Part 4 boards, all of that. And so I'd started working for a chiropractic office while I, finished up everything I needed to do to get my licensure. And so finally got my license, everything was good to go. And then I couldn't come to a contract agreement with the office that I was at. But at the same time, I had started volunteering at the Colorado Chiropractic Association. And so when the contract kind of fell through, the association, I went to them and was like, "Hey, do you guys need extra help?" And I was like, they were like, "Yes, when can you start?" And I was like, "How about tomorrow?" So I came on as an independent contractor, just doing little side works, things for the CCA. And then within a year, I was running it. And so I was the kind of the last one standing, so to speak. We had a little bit of drama, and I just kind of fell in love with the association side of things. And that's what started my career, I guess, in the CCA. So the board took a chance on me when we went through a lot of history and hiccups and things of that nature, and I'm very grateful for that. And by a weird chain of events, that's what happened.
Yeah, you showed up and said yes.
I showed up and said yes. And then, as far as getting on boards and leadership that way, when everything happened at the CCA and stuff kind of, we were on the verge of closing, I'll be 100% honest. I had called some people, I had learned about Chiro Congress and all of that. And so I'd called a few people that I had known. Baron Hoig was one of them. Mark Abloh was one. Amy, the executive director at that time. I got connected with them, and I went to Chiro Congress like 2 months later, and I was like, I found my people. I'm not alone. Yeah. And so I don't want to say they saved me, but Chiro Congress definitely helped me along the way and along all the issues we had. And glad to say the CCA obviously turned it around. They celebrated 100 years. We passed legislation within 3 years of all that stuff. It was a lot of fun to be a part of, and we did a lot of fun things in Colorado.
Yeah,
So,
I think a
um,
lot of state association executive directors are underappreciated. They get the brunt of all the complaints and not a lot of kudos. But I don't know a single state that could do without one. So kudos to you for just stepping up. So, relocating to Kentucky in 2021, you assumed the role of executive director for the Kentucky Association. Can you tell us more about your responsibilities in this position and what initiatives that you've spearheaded to advance chiropractic in your state? Because I hear you've done a lot.
I've been here a short time, but I feel like we hit the ground running when I got here. Some of the things that it's been fun to be a part of would be, the legislative stuff. I love regulatory things. I don't know why. Again,
You're
nobody
one
goes to
step puppy,
chiropractic
lady.
school. Yeah. But one of the big issues, so Kentucky was completely different than Colorado. Colorado, the insurance world wasn't so big, but in Kentucky, it's a very big world out here. It's, you get paid very well, and it's a different beast. But we had some issues. And so one of the issues I know that's been a lot of people have heard about was our care source situation. And so when I came in, CareSource is currently a Kentucky marketplace plan, and that's unfortunately who I have as my insurance people because I'm very limited on the marketplace. But they used to be a part of Medicaid. And so when they split in 2021, right before I got here, from Medicaid, they didn't take along their chiropractic policies. And so for a long time, docs were getting paid randomly, not the same stuff. Like they'd submit two identical claims. A lot of times that happens in the chiropractic world, and they would get paid on one and not paid on the other for literally no rhyme or reason. So we took a deep dive into why this is happening. We've met with CareSource on a regular basis. It was weekly at one point, and it came down to they didn't understand what was happening. They had no chiropractic policies, and so their payments basically they had to pay us. And so eventually we got the Division of Insurance involved. Our lobbying team has a very great relationship with them, the commissioner. And we were able, the division basically said, since you have no policies, you have to pay them. And you have to go back and pay them to when you started to not have policies. And so that was January 2021. So this was in 2022 when the DOI got involved, but they had to go back basically a year and a half and go back and pay things until the policies took effect, which was not until April 1st, 2023. So that was, 2.25-ish years worth of claims that they were required to pay by the DOI because they had no direction for chiropractors, so it
Well,
was really great. It wound up being over $1 million that were back into the chiropractors' pockets. It was
how
a great
much?
win for Kentucky, over $1 million.
How
It
about
was
that?
awesome to get phone calls from docs being like, "Hey, I just got this check for like $6,000 from CareSource. Is this real?" And I was like, "Absolutely, deposit that." So it was 100% real. It was 100% amazing to see everything come full circle, see the results happen, and the chiropractors getting paid as they should. And so that was one of our bigger projects. Since then, we're doing a lot of other things in the insurance world as far as prior authorization. I've kind of taken that under my wing. There's like 30 states right now with the AMA who are working with the AMA about prior authorization. And unfortunately, the way that they're doing the bill doesn't really apply to chiropractors. You want to meet a certain threshold, and then from there, you don't have to get prior authorization. But because chiropractors are different, it's not, if I get 12 visits, does that count towards that threshold? How does a chiropractor meet that threshold? So the language that these 30 states are working on does not apply. And so we've met with the Kentucky Medical Association out here. We've met with the bill sponsor Representative Moser, who's done this prior authorization bill the last couple of years. And we've submitted language on that. And so we most recently have submitted language this year. Unfortunately, the bill wound up having a giant fiscal note on it. And so we all know what happens when there's a giant fiscal note on it, it doesn't go anywhere. So we are looking at strategies for next year to introduce our own bill that will not have a fiscal note, because the way that we're wording everything, it should not
Yeah.
have that
So
issue.
is
So
this a Kentucky specific effort on this prior authorization, or because I've seen stuff in the media about a national pre-authorization lobbying and bills that have been backed by the AMA. So
so the
is it a local
the
or national effort?
Yeah, the bill that we're running is going to be a local one, but I know other states have had successful, even recently passing, like Maine just passed a prior authorization bill, Missouri has one, Washington has one. I don't know all the states, but a lot of the chiropractic associations are able to do their own individual state bills. So this would be something similar,
Right.
no prior authorization required for a certain X number of visits and things of that nature. Because
Got it.
again, that threshold just doesn't apply.
Yeah. I'd like to go back to for a minute
Sure.
to talk about the reimbursements that you got from that carrier. I happen to be on a podcast with Brad Cost, and I know that some of the ability to go to them and have facts and figures was huge. It's part of the data lake and part of the dashboards that Brad has so generously given to the profession, um, which really stresses the importance of doctors using a clearinghouse that is Chiro friendly or working on our behalf. Do you think you could have gone to that payer without that resource and gotten them to refund or pay what they should have?
No, I don't think that we could have. Brad was so great. The dashboard is amazing. I love the dashboard. I log in all the time. And it's amazing that he's given all 50 states access to this information. I could not have done it without Brad. Brad even took it one step further, and he did get me even more specific information that we were able to take to the Division of Insurance. But the dashboard was where we started,
Yeah.
and it's just amazing. I've even continued to use that dashboard now. We do an annual seminar in January, all on insurance related things, billing, coding, documentation, compliance, all that stuff. And this year I was able to take the dashboard and show our doctors what that looks like and use some of the information to give them to teach them. So like one of the examples in the dashboard is your most common billing errors. So things as simple as like checking the patient's zip code because the claim's getting denied. Like, let's take a second, guys, and make sure that the number's the same. Just small things, but some of the bigger things too that we could use as a teaching moment, like missing modifiers. And so we'll review modifiers. So the dashboard is an amazing tool. I love data. It's been able to kind of give me that step to be able to teach your doctors in the right way. So I love that. I could not
Yeah.
have done it without Brad, and he's awesome.
Yeah. So after running two state associations, this frustrates me. Why do you think many doctors don't join their state associations or national associations? What kind of feedback do you get from doctors that, oh, I'm not a joiner or I don't get involved in politics? What do you think? What's their hang up? What is the resistance that you hear?
Gosh, I mean, I think it depends on who you're talking to, whether you're talking to a doc who's been in practice for 50 years or whether it's the newer ones graduating. Some of the docs who've been around for a while, obviously, there's history of division and all of that. And so some of them just kind of take it through and they're just like, I'm fed up, I'm out, I don't, whatever, it is what it is. I may or may not get them to come back. But the younger ones, I think it's more of a they don't know what they don't know kind of thing. They don't know how useful state associations are. They don't know the resources that they have yet because maybe they're not paying attention. They're so focused on school, so focused on getting out of school and starting their own practice and things. But state associations are amazing resources. And I mean, I go back to my time when I was a student. And that first year when I graduated, I had my license right before I moved to Colorado. My license expired in Illinois. And I get an email from Mark Abla, who's still the executive director for the ICS, that says, "Hey, doc, just letting you know your license expired. Wanted to make sure that, you knew that and see if there's anything we could do to help." And full circle, like that email has meant more to me than anything else. I used to think state associations where I put them up on a pedestal. I was like, no, I can't call them. I don't, school maybe didn't teach me marketing, but I don't want to call the state association and bother them. I want the students and the younger ones to know that we're real people. So just like Mark sent me that email that opened the door for conversations, and now he's, I consider him kind of my mentor. He'd probably hate me if I said that, but I try to be like Mark in just about every way. We are real people. We're real resources. So for the students, I want them to know, call your state associations, but get involved. We want to know what you want. But for the docs who've been around for a while, it's sometimes just hard to break through that barrier. It really is. And I just want them to be a part of something. It doesn't have to be my association. Be a part of something. You're not alone.
Yeah, also, you can't ever change anything from the outside. If you don't like the
Yeah.
way things are going, you need to be a member and get involved. Just curious, in Kentucky, do you guys have any type of program for new or recent graduates to get them involved with the state association? And the reason I ask this, I know of some states where the association bylaws say that you you can't serve on the board or you can't serve in any official capacity unless you've been there for 5 years, which kind of sounds like the good old boys network. Do y'all have any initiatives or anything in place to get early engagement from recent graduates or even students?
It's funny you mentioned the 5 year thing. We're one of those states in our bylaws that have that. However, we do recently have a new Kentucky chiropractic school with they've partnered with Campbellsville University to create the School of Chiropractic. And so it is a little bit new territory. We don't have a specific program yet, but we're in the process of creating a mentorship program for the students coming out. Campbellsville has been nice to invite me down to speak a couple of times, so I've gotten to create relationships that way. I'm really excited about this school. They have a unique situation in where the last year of their what would be considered clinic is spent in a doctor's office. So it's not on the campus, but it's out in real time, basically.
Real world.
And so we're trying to make sure that make sure the students have opportunities to meet doctors in the state. We're going to do a student reception at our convention this year in the fall and invite both doctors who want to host students, because the first class is smaller, but it's going to continue to grow. So we're going to keep needing doctors, but also invite the students so they have an opportunity to meet doctors, local doctors around the state that they can go to.
That's
So
awesome.
not yet, but it's coming to answer that question.
Yeah, I think that is critical. When I look back at my training and my career, I really wish we have a preceptor program or preceptorship program in our state, and I know a number of others do. And I think that is so much more, like you said, real world versus what we maybe historically got in chiropractic colleges, where you were basically treating patients that were handed down by other interns, and they're pretty much wellness patients, and it really didn't reflect the real world in a lot of ways. So I think it's really important for students to get real live, real clinic experience, and I think that's a great way to do that. Well, hold on for a moment. We're going to take about a 30-second break and to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be back with you. Welcome back. We're here with Rachel Wendt, one of my friends and an influencer in our profession, and so we'll just continue on with our questions. So, as a board member of the what I have a hard time saying, I want to say COXA. Everybody knows it's COXA.
I know.
So,
That's what it was when I started.
I just can't get away from it. So, as a board member of the Congress of Chiropractic State Associations and a member of the leadership committee for Chiropractic Future, you're deeply involved in shaping the future of chiropractic care at both the state and national levels. What are some of the key challenges and opportunities you see for the profession moving forward, and how do you envision us addressing them? I know that's a broad question, but give it a shot.
Man, so key challenges and how to fix it. Some of the challenges I still look at again is, we go back to that. I talked about history, right? And so some of the docs who've been around, they've still got that old mentality of, you're my competition, but we're not. We're much more better together, and we're much more alike than we are separate. So whether you practice, whether we want to use the term straight and you practice mixing, it doesn't matter, because we're both getting the patients better. That's what it's all about. That's what it comes down to, is the patient care, and that we can still continue to make a difference in their lives and improve their lives on a daily basis. As far as how we're going to get there, it's Chiropractic Future has been an amazing thing. Try to create that unity without uniformity. It's going to take time to get there, again, because we've got to break down some of those walls that have been put up. But it's exciting to see the direction that we're going. With all the different projects we're doing, with the research that we're being able to put out to support everyone, whether it's, Atlas, whether it's diversified, whatever it is, with the government affairs that we're able to break down in legislation to make sure chiropractors can continue to practice how they want to practice in their states. The research, the backpack to support key legislators who support chiropractic. That's what the backpack is for. All the different work groups that are going on in Chiropractic Future, that's the way I see it in the future and how it's going, and making sure that the students are set up for success as well. So if all of that harmoniously just happens and everything opens up, then
make that happen under your watch.
Get there.
That'd be awesome.
How many? I've only got a couple more months left.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah,
so
zero pressure.
Something you said caught my attention, that some in the profession, particularly maybe the older guys, look at their colleagues as competitors. And that's always frustrated me because, I have never thought for a moment that there were only a finite number of chiropractic patients. There's just a lot of people that don't know that we can help them. And the reality is, if we did pool our resources, if we pooled our marketing, if we pooled our advertising, we could literally, something that supported me, reach the tipping point to where chiropractic does become kind of the first choice. But that's never going to happen as long as we look at each other as competitors. Now, is there some competition in maybe in a city or a particular town? You might say so. But if more people were going to chiropractors, that'd never be an issue. So
Yeah.
the older guys like me, give it up, change your attitude. Your fellow practitioners are not your competition. It's the other things that are out there that are, and so give it a break, guys.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
I
we don't need to be
understand.
fighting ourselves.
No, there's just too much to be gained by collaborating and by having some unity without uniformity. That's kind of been of a catchphrase that started early on with the strategic plan. And the reality is there's so much more that binds us together than there is that separates us, and we just need to start focusing on the things that do bind us together. So with your background in healthcare leadership, what advice would you offer to chiropractors looking to enhance their leadership skills and become more active in advocacy and professional organizations?
I mean, I would say the number one thing would just be starting. You've got to show up. You've got to be there. Create the relationships. Stuff doesn't happen overnight. Have patience. Change takes time, but more importantly, to me, it takes relationships. A lot of the things that we've done and we're able to accomplish, whether in Colorado or whether in Kentucky or whether on a national level, was because of who I knew or who I knew who I knew. Like the Division of Insurance, we have a great relationship with them because our lobbyist has a great relationship with them. And so but you've got to start somewhere. Show up, listen, and just bring your passion. Don't be afraid to ask questions. If you do want to get involved on a leadership level, we all are in this together, but you can bring some questions about it and make sure that we're doing everything, keep us in check, make sure we're doing everything the right way. So definitely, if, like you said, if people don't like the way it is, don't sit and complain about it, but get involved.
Get involved. I'm a firm believer that you get out of this profession what you put into it. And early on, I got
Mm-hmm.
very involved in our state association and the political side of it. And the reality, to this day, I still have those relationships. And even though I'm not practicing currently, when there's something that comes up, I get phone calls. And
Sure.
I know a guy, and it really is. I think you get out of this profession what you put into it, and I cannot tell you the number of times that I left my office to go down to the Capitol because a bill was coming. Literally had to leave patients on the table, but that led to opportunities that I had. Starting the VA program at the medical center here, being asked to serve on the state board of health, which had never happened, and it all because I happened to show up and said yes and got involved. And so when you look around, um, uh, when you look at your future in chiropractic, look beyond the four walls of your practice, because you really can have a larger impact if you do just show up occasionally and get involved.
Mm-hmm.
So, got another question for you. And
Mm-hmm.
these are what we call our just for fun questions. Who's your hero and why?
Oh gosh. Let's see. It'd probably have to be my grandparents. They had a really big influence on my life. My grandma's birthday is actually tomorrow, and we're gonna go visit her on our drive up to Wisconsin. But they, were not everybody knows like my whole history as far as like my biological dad, and he had left a month before I was born. But in part of the divorce with my mom, his parents had to be a part of our lives, and so that was my grandparents. And we spent every summer up there from like the time we got out of school until we'd always call and say, can we stay another week, another week, another week? And so it was right up until we left. They took us on this big giant road trip. They showed up, they were present. Not that I had a terrible life by any means, I had a great life, but they were just my favorite people, and I miss them every day.
That's awesome. What's a talent that you have that most people don't know about?
I don't know how to say no, or maybe everybody knows about that one. I don't know. A talent I have. I
To just
broke my
show up
leg
and say
walking
yes.
backwards.
There you
I
go.
did.
What's the worst job you ever had?
Oh, I haven't really hated my jobs. I mean, I've done everything from like, I worked at Great Clips, was like my first job and a receptionist, but I didn't hate that. When I moved out to Colorado from Illinois before I had my chiropractic license, I was actually I worked at Starbucks. I got hired as a barista cross country while I was waiting to take all my boards and stuff like that. So,
Well, so you got
full
right
on
on the.
doctor in Illinois, but here I am in Starbucks.
You
I
did
haven't hated any of my jobs really. I've only quit one job, and that was the CCA to come to Kentucky. Otherwise, I've loved them all.
good deal. Well, thanks so much for spending time with us today, Rachel. And thank you all for listening to the ChiroSphere podcast. Please subscribe and share the podcast with your friends and let us know who you'd like to hear from in the future, and we'll try to get them on. If you want to learn more about ChiroHealth USA and how we can help you develop a profitable discount strategy that will help grow your practice, increase your income, and most important, your profitability, call us at 888-719-9990 or visit our website at CHUSA.com to find out why ChiroHealth USA is the network that works for chiropractic and you. Make it a great day, and I'll see you next week, or I'll see you this week, actually.
See you in a couple days.
All right. Thanks, Rachel.